Welcome, and thank you for joining us to learn more about UT Austin's Human Dimensions of Organization's Master's Degree Program. We'll use the shorthand HDO to refer to the program throughout this information session. I'm Mary Rose, the Director of HDO Program here at UT Austin. I'm also a professor of sociology. I teach the quantitative methods class that we'll be talking about, and I've been at the university, which I love, for over 20 years. Today, I'll walk you through the details of our 15-month master's degree program. We'll cover the philosophy of HDO, a brief history of the program, our goals and outcomes with this degree, the structure and curriculum, as well as the application requirements, tuition, and deadlines. We want you to understand that a really key and distinguishing part of our program is the capstone project, so we'll spend a little bit of time discussing that and the kinds of topics that people develop. We'll also hear from our founding director, Art Markman, who shares my passion about this program. We hope this session gives you many reasons to reach out to us to learn more, or even to start the application process. We have an admissions team that is happy to answer your questions and guide you through the entire process. You can always reach us at hdo-ma@austin.utexas.edu. Let's get started. As a whole, Human Dimensions of Organizations encompasses a master's program, a professional training program, and a bachelor's degree program. For the purposes of this session, we're focusing on the master's program, but we'll briefly introduce the other HDO offerings at the end of the presentation. Okay. At this time, I want to introduce you to our special guest, Dr. Art Markman, founding director of HDO, who can share how HDO came into being and why. Hi, Art. Can you tell us how HDO got started and what you think makes HDO a unique master's program?
Thanks, Mary. The thing about the HDO program that really makes it unique is the mix of disciplines that we're able to bring together. We have the humanities, we have the social sciences, we have the behavioral sciences, each of which has thousands of years of history behind it that brings knowledge, that brings wisdom, and that also brings methods for understanding people. When you go through any kind of training with HDO, what you learn is to internalize those disciplines so that you see the world differently from everybody else. You have techniques for measuring the world that are different from anybody else, and ultimately you have a perspective that is different and unique. The essence of the HDO program is that locked away in every discipline of the liberal arts, whether it's the humanities, the social sciences, the behavioral sciences, is real wisdom and understanding of the way that people function and of the various methods that you can use to try to understand the way that people function. And by taking those disciplines and applying them to thinking about organizations, we can then help people who are trying to solve people-centered problems in their organizations to take that wisdom, internalize it, and then use it day to day to solve the problems they face.
The folks that developed the program really thought through common challenges for tackling people-centered challenges in organizations. And some of that is just identifying what those challenges are, but also thinking about what insights the liberal arts at UT can bring to answering these questions. What developed was an opportunity to teach you to think like disciplinary members of a whole bunch of liberal arts fields. And I think, more than anything, that's what makes HDO unique. We're not just a master's of psychology or a master's of anthropology or a master's of economics or something else. We combine all of these wonderful fields. And if your goal is to tackle people-centered problems within organizations, you actually need to think a little bit like all of them. The goal of HDO's master's program is to provide our graduates with a toolkit that will allow them to identify, analyze, and solve people-centered organizational challenges. We do this by exposing students to a wide variety of disciplines in the liberal arts and the social and behavioral sciences that enable them to better understand how individuals and groups function in the workplace. To think like a psychologist means to sort of adopt an individual level perspective. What's in someone's mind? How are they influenced in the moment by others around? I'm a social psychologist, so that's my specialty. But we also talk about motivation, we talk about drive, we talk about how people respond to subtle influences in the moment. To think like a rhetorician, we have students talk about communication and persuasion, which is what rhetoricians do and are expert in. And we have you think about what constitutes effective communication and effective persuasion. Having you think like a historian means understanding what's come before, because I guarantee you there isn't an organization facing a people-centered problem that isn't in some way linked to problems that organizations have been facing for literally centuries. And I mean that even if we're talking about something cool and new like AI, we're still talking about trust and the disruption of new technologies. We're talking about what productivity and creativity looks like in that space. So even things that look new benefit from historical hindsight and from being able to draw from that toolkit. Thinking like a sociologist or an anthropologist means understanding the difference between structure and culture in an organization. Organizations are designed a particular way. They have a certain structure, but then they also have norms and cultures and assumptions operating within that structure that guide them. And it's through those fields that you can start to look at an organization in a different way, and in a value-added way, and ask questions about norms and about how groups are formed, how cliques are formed, and how they function and behave. And we also value having you think like an ethicist. We bring in people who are trained in philosophy to talk through organizational ethics. And we also include ethics in other classes, because what is important for you is to be able to name the values that are at stake and the values that are going to be important to the people in an organization, and then to think through how you can provide value for the most people while minimizing the harms of that. Or alternatively, to think about when it's time to stick to your principles and your values. You're thinking through what it means to make a principled decision. And so we're doing all of that with faculty who have expertise in that area. A big component of our program is in understanding the methodology of how to ask questions and learn how to answer them. That's through our formal courses, and it's also through teaching you how to do research. And finally, I'll just say that all of this is done by award-winning UT faculty who keep organizations front and center. So again, this isn't just a hodgepodge of courses and various topics. These are folks who designed their class around what someone who cares about humans within an organization, like you, would want to know about from their field. And so how does our program do that? The structure is in our next slide. What we offer is a 15-month master's program. That's kind of the sweet spot that we've decided is long enough to be able to cover all of that list that I just shared. But we also think it's doable in your life without turning over too much of it to study. But it does mean that we have to do it in a pretty disciplined and fast-moving way. And so you'll see from this schedule that there are 3 full semesters that you're engaged with faculty and taking classes. And then there's an additional semester that allows you to go off and do the research that you need to do for a capstone. Each of the first 3 semesters start with an intensive week. It's typically Wednesday through Saturday, and for those days, we assist with places to stay and with meals. What this intensive week does is allow us to spend time together in one place, to handle tasks that need to be done on campus, and to take advantage of the resources that the UT campus has, such as its amazing libraries and museums. Intensive weeks are conducted in person on campus, allowing you to meet and really get to know your cohort while you learn alongside each other in the classroom. So even if you plan to do this degree mostly online, Intensive Week gives you the opportunity to make real and lasting connections with other students and with your professors. All of our alumni will attest that this is an incredibly important part of the HDO experience. I also want to note that we designed this program with working professionals in mind. To that point, for our regular weekend classes, we also offer a distance learning option where you can participate in the class either in person or online. You can choose to do the distance learning option full-time or elect it weekend by weekend. It's synchronous, so you're logging into class at the same time that everyone else is gathering in the classroom. So you're still getting that interaction with the faculty and with your classmates, and that's key to HDO. The platform we're using now for this is Zoom. The weekend classes run from 4 to 7 on a Friday night, so after the work week is mostly wrapped up, and then all day Saturday. You then go back to your family, and it's another 2 weeks until we join up again. The 2 long semesters, fall and spring, look pretty much the same. Summer is going to be that same structure, but it's more compressed. And sometimes we have some back-to-back weekends to fit everything in, but you have 1 fewer class in the summer to make that more manageable. And then that last fall semester, there's no intensive week and no formal classes, as you'll be working independently on your capstone project, which I'll explain in greater detail shortly. And of course, you'll have graduation at the end of the semester too. Graduation is a truly special event. You do a poster session to show off your capstone project, then we have a formal ceremony for you and for your guests. Just to recap the distance learning and in-person options. For required in-person attendance, everyone should expect to spend 3 to 4 days in Austin at the beginning of the first 3 semesters in order to participate in the intensive weeks. In addition, you'll be required to attend the capstone presentation ceremony in Austin at the end of the last semester. So semester 1, fall, there's intensive week, which is usually mid-August. Semester 2, in spring, there's intensive week, and it's in mid-January. Semester 3, in summer, intensive week is usually early June. And semester 4, you just have to be present for the capstone presentation in early December. So optional in-person attendance includes the Friday and Saturday classes for all those first 3 semesters. And in semester 4, we offer writing group sessions. For these, you can choose the distance learning option in order to participate. As far as what's required each semester, let's move on and look at the curriculum. This is the nitty-gritty of the curriculum each semester. For the first fall, we're doing a writing and researching organizations class, an individual perspectives class, which is more psychological perspectives on organizations, and a class on culture and diversity in society within organizations. Lastly, we do a qualitative research methods class where you learn the basics of observing people and learn about how to do interviews effectively. For example, how to ask strong questions, what a structured conversation looks like, and how to analyze data that results from interviews and ethnography. In spring, you do a class on persuasion taught by a professor of rhetoric, and a class focused on organizational inertia and decision-making. It's a mix of structure of organizations, but also emphasizing the psychology and breaking through some of those traps that people get into. We have a fantastic course on approaches to leadership, looking at history, looking at people who have been leaders and what choices they've made to help inform what you're doing now. And then you get me, teaching quantitative research methods. This is really a methodology course, so any of you who are saying to yourself, I don't want to know statistics, I don't want to do anything with numbers, it's really not that class. It's learning how people conduct surveys, how people do experiments, and how people do systematic coding of data that they've received. So you can put things into categories and things can be counted. It's all about prepping to hand that information off to someone else who will do the statistics. But you're learning the basics of the methodology that produces numerical data. In the summer, you're going to focus on the structure of an organization, on the cultural perspective on an organization, and on ethics. So again, it's truly interdisciplinary. And then, as we've said, the capstone project is your independent semester. Another note about types of assignments. Like many graduate programs, we don't focus on tests, but rather on writing and reading responses and presentations in both group and individual form. This program, with all its conceptual and theoretical background, is still focused on applicability and how you can apply this to a challenge that you're facing in your workplace. As an individual and as a group, you'll chew on ideas and see how you can bring these ideas closer to work. The primary goal is to be in conversation through both class discussion and through your written work with professors and with the material. And the big written work you'll do is the capstone, which I'm about to dig into. I'll also note that faculty are very experienced working with and teaching working professionals. We have deadlines and accountability. Faculty work with students when issues come up. With good communication, most challenges in getting work done can get worked out. One last note is that course summaries are available on our website at hdo.utexas.edu, and we're always here to answer any of your questions. The capstone project is a research project and presentation that requires you to tackle a real-world question of interest to you. At its heart, it's a long research paper, at least 25 pages, that either reviews existing studies or in some instances presents results from a small-scale research project. It's not the same as a master's thesis because those typically unfold over a longer period of time. But it is graduate level work and it's informed by the classes and learning that you undergo in this program. As mentioned, you get to present this capstone project in a poster at graduation. Over the years, students have researched an incredible variety of topics. For example, they've looked at how teams can function and communicate better, how to handle dissent in organizations, and how to address the problems of emotional labor. The true benefit of the capstone is what makes our program different from some other executive education style master's programs that you see out there. The big differentiator for the HDO program is we now turn to you and ask you to become a mini expert in a field to figure out what's been written in a particular area. Because often you're building on the shoulders of giants and drawing on what's come before. This process connects the dots from master's coursework and it benefits your career. People often ask about HDO's impact or return on investment. This is hard for us to quantify because people come to our program with so many different aims and backgrounds. Some people want to improve aspects of their current career. Some may want to be more effective and implement organizational change. And some may want to change jobs entirely. The way we look at impact is to ask our alums. 88% of graduates reported improved professional performance as a result of their HDO education. Graduates reported overwhelmingly that HDO gave them tools to address organizational issues and to improve the culture of their workplace. If you're interested in hearing more about impact, let us connect you to one of our alums who can describe the full experience and results. In the meantime, here's some direct feedback from our alums. Before we dive into the requirements and eligibility, let me share a little bit about our student profile. There is no one type of student. Unlike many executive education programs, we welcome people from all places on the organizational chart and from many types of industries, both for-profit businesses, nonprofits, the education sector, the military, and religious organizations. We think HDO has something to say to all types of students. Now let's go through basic program eligibility and the application process. To be eligible to apply for HDO in the MA program, you must possess a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited college or university, or its equivalent from an institution outside the U.S., and you must have 3 to 5 years of career-level work experience. The graduate school also requires a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher from prior coursework. However, we recognize that many of you are not the same person you were the last time you went to college. Do not allow the minimum GPA to be a barrier to applying. Talk to us to learn more about applying even if your GPA was lower than that minimum. We've had many very successful students in our programs in the past whose undergraduate GPAs were under a 3.0. When you apply for the program, you're required to submit an official university transcript from your undergraduate work or any graduate work you've already completed, a resume or CV detailing all your relevant work and academic experience, 2 essays, the prompts for which are listed on the admissions page on our website, so you can start thinking about and prepare your essays before you actually get into the application. And then we ask for 3 letters of recommendation. International students are also required to submit TOEFL scores. The 2 most important elements of the application from the Faculty Admissions Committee's perspectives are the essays and letters of recommendation. Like I said, the essay prompts are on the site. They ask you to look at how the HDO process or the HDO program will benefit you professionally and areas that you might look at for your capstone project. There's nothing that you're tied to, but it's something to see how you think about that potential topic. And then the letters of recommendation, we really want to hear from folks who know you and know why this program would be a good fit for you. And so it says professional and/or academic here. 95+% of these letters are professional because, again, most students have not been in school in a while. But if you happen to work in academia or maintain a connection with a faculty member, we're more than happy to have those letters. I just wanted to let you know that the vast majority of these are from fellow professionals. So then, in terms of deadlines, we have two. The first deadline is January 15th, and that is our early admissions deadline for US-based applicants, and it's our final admission deadline for any international applicants. And then we have a second deadline. Our regular one is March 1st. We typically make our decisions 1 to 2.5 months after each of these deadlines. And just a quick plug, if you miss that first deadline, it's very unlikely that we'll actually fill the entire cohort by early March, so don't feel like you've missed out if you're watching this video, for example, between mid-January and March 1st. But the earlier you apply, the more time you have to plan and get ready for a major life change. So if you're able to get everything together in advance of that January 15th deadline, I would encourage that for your own convenience and peace of mind. The application is available on our website if you want to explore. Now on to tuition. The total cost of our program is $60,000, payable in installments due prior to each semester. This flat fee covers your tuition and fees, as well as expenses related to the program. There are no additional fees for textbooks, intensive week lodging, course materials, career services, advising, or access to the University of Texas resources such as libraries and research databases. The fee also covers support staff for students for the duration of the program. We're also able to create a more personalized payment plan if you'd like to do something monthly or however is best for you financially. We're happy to work with you on that. Students cover the cost of tuition in various ways. The program is eligible for traditional federal student loans. We also have folks who have done more creative things like look at home equity loans because the rates were better than grad school loans. If your employer provides partial or full reimbursement or direct payment for tuition, we're happy to work with your employer to set that up. And then we have a number of folks in every cohort who are veterans or active duty military and who provide invaluable experience and perspective to the classroom discussions. With them, we work with the pre- and post 9/11 GI Bills, vocational rehab, a number of programs aimed at education benefits for veterans and active duty. Unfortunately, Hazelwood benefits are not applicable to our program. If you're a veteran hoping to use Hazelwood, reach out and talk to us for more specifics. Very quickly, I want to let you know about our professional training offerings, of which we have 1-day courses and 4-day certificate programs. These are a great way to get a taste of the HDO experience and become familiar with our faculty and curriculum. You can check out our professional training program on our website at hdou.texas.edu to learn more. Here are the ways you can connect with us at any time: email, social media, phone. We have a wonderful admissions team who are available to help you with any steps in this process and to answer your specific questions. One of the things they love to do is connect potential students with alumni so they can hear firsthand about the HDO experience. Please reach out to anyone on our team and we'll make sure you're getting what you need. Also, sign up for our newsletter and blog to get the latest news and program updates. And you can also check out our YouTube channel for additional video resources. We look forward to connecting with you soon.